Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and we are going to continue our studies. This time we're reviewing for the Common Assessment. So we have a test that's coming up for the kids, and we want to review for it, so let's get started. A chef purchased 46 pounds of fish at a price of $2.03 per pound. What was the total price of his purchase? Well, let's see. We have some information we need to highlight. So we got 46 pounds of fish is what the guy purchased, and it cost him $2.03 for each pound, per pound. Per is another way of saying each. So if it was $2.03 for 1 pound, I'm curious, how much was it for 46 pounds? To solve this, we would cross multiply, and that would give us our answer. 1 times x would equal to $2.03 times 46. So let me get my calculator. $2. $2. Delete that. $2 and delete that. And 3 cents times 46 pounds will give us a total amount of $93.38. So the total of his purchase was $93.38. So we did that by proportional reasoning. So it was a good way of dealing with it. So if you haven't seen my video on proportion, check it out. It's pretty good. All right, which is a whole number? All right, whole number. We have pi, and if I remember correctly, pi is an irrational number. Irrational means that it goes on and on without a pattern and does not repeat. So in some decimal form. 1/4 is a fraction. Fractional means rational. So that's not a whole number. This is divided into fourths or 4 parts. 1 would be a whole number, so I'm tempted to put that there. And 1 is a whole number. And notice -1 looks like it would be correct, but because of the negative sign, it's not a whole number. By the way, whole numbers start at 0 on up. Can you figure out which one is the natural number? Natural means to count as you would naturally. So what would be the first number you started counting with? If I asked you to count to 3, 1, 2, 3. So again, 1 would be a natural number because it's natural to count starting with 1. It's also called counting numbers because when we count, we use those numbers starting with 1. 0 would be the first whole number, whereas 1 is the first counting number. So which is not a rational number? Well, we already know this is integer because of the negative sign. That's a whole number, and that's a fraction, so it's got to be pi. And pi would be our answer. It doesn't repeat, and if I can get my calculator, it doesn't end. So let's clear this and get pi button and see what it's equal to approximately. Notice it doesn't repeat in any specific pattern. The number is 3.141592654, and if there were other numbers I could add on to it, there would be, because I'd have a bigger calculator or computer, you would see many more different numbers that have no pattern distinct. So that's why it's not rational. All right, here's one you can try on your own. which is an integer. We talked about that before. Here we have a question about a dolphin dove 55 feet below the surface of an ocean. Then he rose 22 feet to feed. Must have been hungry. Which expression describes this situation? So let's highlight what's important. 55 feet below the surface, then he rose 22 feet. So if he went below the surface, that means he went down. He went down 55 feet. So down, I will say negative 55. And then he rose up. So then he rose up. So he went up 22 feet. So a negative 55 plus 22, and let's see, A and C look pretty good, but it looks like C is going to be the answer because I have the negative 55 to go down and the plus 22 to go up. So I'm going to go with C. So that's a good situation representing those numbers. All right, Nora's practicing for a long jump for the upcoming track and field meet. Her first jump measured 9.5 feet. Her second jump was 10 1/4 feet. Okay, so she jumped a little longer on the second one. How much longer was the second jump? So the second jump was longer. So let's see. We got 9.5 feet was the first jump, and 10 1/4 feet was the second jump. So 10 1/4, we're trying to find the difference between the two jumps. So let's see, what would we do? We need to get a common denominator for these fractions. So we got 1/4 and we got 1/2. We got to change them to common denominator, and that would be fourths, because if we look for LCD, it would be 4. So the lowest common denominator would be 4. So if I multiply this by 2 and this by 2, I would get 2/4. So I have 10 1/4 minus 9 2/4. But I got to borrow 1 from the 10. So I'll borrow 1 from this 10 and make it 9. And my 1 I could write as 4/4. And with the 1 I got up here and the 4 I got down there, that would give me a total of 5/4. So that would be 9 5/4 minus 9 2/4. All right, well, 9 minus 9 is 0, and 5/4 minus 2/4 would give me 3/4. So my answer would be 3/4 feet would be the difference between these two jumps. So 3/4 feet. So the second jump was just a little bit longer by 3/4. If you don't like using fractions, you can change them to decimals. Half and 1/4 are very good common fractions. All right, here's another question. Kenneth had 3.75 liters of water in a bucket. How many 0.5 or half bottles, and I assume they're liters, can he fill from his bucket? So let us see. We got this much water in a bucket, and we want to fill up these half-liter bottles. So I'm going to get my calculator, because I'm going to be dividing up what I have, all this water I have, which is 3.75, and I'm going to divide that up by half liters, or 0.5. and that'll give me 7.5 half-liter bottles that I can fill up. So my answer would be 7.5. So that's how many he can fill from, how many bottles he can fill. 7.5 bottles he'll be able to fill. Good question. The top number of a fraction is called what? Hopefully you remember that. If you need help with your homework, dial a teacher on the homework helpline at 212-777-3380 between 4 and 7 p.m. every day, except the weekends, I believe. So I hope you got something out of this. Watch Math Time, our show on Tuesdays, 4:30 to 5 p.m. on Cablevision Channel 15, IO Digital Cable, and we'll be glad to see you there. So I hope you got something out of the show. If you have problems, rewatch it again. It's a good review for your upcoming common assessment. So good luck on your test. Hope to see you soon. I hope you do well. Have a good time. Bye-bye.